Evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Vernon District SSPA Task Force meeting number 5. I want to thank you all for joining, and for those that may be joining for the first time, this meeting is co-chaired by Tim Sargent, Planning Commissioner for Fairfax County, and myself, Walter Clark, co-chairman and Planning Commissioner for Fairfax County. And I want to thank everyone for their time this evening. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, the Mount Vernon District Task Force needs to make certain findings of determination for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask that you all in advance, please be patient with me. First, because of each member of the task force is participating in a meeting from separate locations, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and each member's voice is clear, audible, and at appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I am going to conduct a roll call and ask that each task force member participating in the meeting to state your name and location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will then vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. So, roll call. Tim Sargent.
Here at the Mount Vernon Government Center.
Hillary Clausen.
Here in Lorton, Virginia.
Catherine Ward.
Here in my home on Gladstone Place.
Gretchen Waltz. Gretchen. David Levine is absent tonight. Holly Doherty, absent tonight. Evan Kaufman, not with us tonight. Mary Payton. Mary, I understand, will be joining a little later. Queenie Cox. Queenie Cox.
Come on, Queenie.
Queenie.
We'll come back to her. Ellen Young.
I'm here at home in Bellevue.
Lanier is absent. Lynn Pesco.
Oh, jeez, now it comes out.
Lynn Pesco.
I see Queenie.
You know, I couldn't hit the button right. It took me someplace in a loop. I'm here in Gum Springs.
Yay, thank you.
Did you hear me? It's Len Pasco. I'm here.
Lynn Pasco, yes, sir. Tracy Wood.
Here in Mount Vernon, Alexandria, Virginia.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. At this point, I'll pass the virtual gavel over to co-chairman, Mr. Tim Sargent, so that my requisite motion can be heard by all.
One moment. Sorry, this is Gretchen. I'm here.
Hey, Gretchen, welcome. Thank you.
In Alexandria.
I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of the Mount Vernon District SSPA Task Force.
Mary Payton is here. Can you hear
Mary
me?
Payton.
Mary Payton.
Mary Payton is here. Okay. Do I hear a second for the motion?
Second.
Second.
All right. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures and the fact that we are meeting electronically and the type of electronic communication is being used and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for the task force to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. And that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require physical assembly of the task force and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that the task force may conduct this meeting electronically through dedicated video and audio conferencing lines, and that the public may access these meetings by registering through the meeting link on the track and nomination page of the SSPA website at fairfaxcounty.gov/planning-development/amendments/south/track-nomination, or by calling 1-408-418-9388 TTY 711 and entering access code 129-486-0494. It is so moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Will second.
Okay, who was the first to second? I couldn't even see.
Tracy will second.
Okay, Tracy seconds. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Finally, it is next required that all of the matters addressed in today's agenda must address the emergency itself and necessary for continuity in Fairfax County's government and are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the Mount Vernon District SSPA Task Force's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Do I hear a second, please?
Ellen, I'll second.
Okay, Ellen seconds. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Also, I'd like to note this evening that we have received public comments, written public comments through email that have been entered into the records. So I want to acknowledge that the public comments that have been sent in to staff has been entered into public records. Next, we will move into the agenda. We have some administrative items here, so we would now hear from our WebEx instructions and extraordinary.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Clark. So this is Graham Owen with the staff. And before I begin the WebEx instructions, wanted to mention that we do have Soraya Stonley, who was the translator at our previous meeting last week, who will be providing consecutive translation during this meeting as well. So Soraya, if you can, probably from this point on would be good to begin consecutive translation. And what we'd ask is, just like last time, if you're speaking, if you can provide your speech in segments and be cognizant that she'll need to translate what you're saying into Spanish. That would be very helpful for everybody. And also just to minimize echoes and just to make sure that the audio quality is good as it can be, please be sure to mute yourself while you're not speaking. So that's probably a good jumping off point. Soraya, if you could translate that, we can start the WebEx instructions.
Buenas noches, damas y caballeros. Vamos a comenzar con la parte de interpretación de lo que aquí se va a llevar a cabo. Si cuando estén escuchando y no hablando, se les pide que por favor mantengan el micrófono apagado para que no haya interferencia. Y también cuando necesiten hablar o sea el momento, prender el micrófono. Con mucho gusto estoy aquí para servirles y buenas tardes.
And so, as many of you probably noticed, WebEx does look a little bit different from last week. There must have been a Cisco update or download that's changed the interface ever so slightly. It appears to be cosmetic in nature, but I just want to give everybody a brief overview of the controls. So if you're in the main WebEx interface, you'll see a similar collection of buttons that are the controls. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a mute or unmute button that does what you think it would do. It mutes you or unmutes you. I think the one change that we see now is that if you're speaking, you'll see your microphone lighting up perhaps in green, so that it's a bit better in terms of letting you know whether you're talking or not. Also, you'll have a webcam toggle, start and stop your video. If you are a panelist, you have the ability to share your content if I give you presenter permissions. And one additional thing is the participants. Well, I'll stop there, Sarah.
Si ha notado, esta vez ha habido cambios en cómo está conformado nuestro WebEx. Hubo una interfase y cambiaron las cosas, una actualización. Vemos aquí dos botones en la parte baja, uno que dice mute o apagar, y el otro es de parar el video, hacer que el video no se vea. Y también uno de los cambios es que el micrófono, cuando se esté hablando, va a tener una luz verde intermitente. Y también el siguiente botón en el que dice que se pare la grabación o el video junto a ello. Y se puede parar, se puede comenzar.
And then the last button that I'll mention for this evening is the participants button, which had been previously kind of in the center of your screen. That's moved to the bottom right-hand corner. But if you click on that, it brings up the list of participants, both panelists and attendees that are in the meeting. So that's WebEx in a nutshell. I don't believe we're going to be doing public comment at this meeting as we've done it at the previous two. So I'll leave it at that. Those are the controls that we'll be using for this meeting.
Y también, si quieren ver una lista de todos los participantes, hay una flechita en donde están las fotografías de todos los participantes y pueden ver quiénes están participando. En esta junta no va a haber comentario público, pero sí pueden con todo gusto escuchar los procedimientos. Gracias.
Commissioner Sargent, whenever you're ready, move on. Next.
Okay, thank you very much, Graham. Let's start tonight with the top for the agenda for this evening, which is the review and final votes for this one particular nomination, which is PC 19-MV-002 Engleside Trailer Park and Ray's Mobile Home Colony. You want to translate?
En la agenda tenemos el primer artículo, se va a revisar y a tomar un voto final de la iniciativa IPC 19-MLB 002, que es el parque de casas móviles Engleview.
We're going to summarize. In this process, we are going to start by summarizing the current plan and the proposed amendment, and then we'll have some other questions for clarification prior to a final vote. So I'd like to ask staff if you could please tell us and summarize from the text the current plan map and text for this nomination.
Se va a hablar del plan actual y también de su enmienda, así que Mr. Owen, por parte del staff, nos va a dar un resumen breve de lo que se trata.
So Aaron or whoever would go ahead, please.
Aaron, if you want to.
Thank you, Commissioner Sargent. So the current plan for the subject area is residential use at a density of 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre. And there is an option for higher density for a mixed use comprising 75% residential use at 16 to 20 dwelling units per acre and 25% retail and office uses at an intensity of 0.5 FAR. With substantial parcel consolidation and an urban town center concept.
Among other conditions.
Okay. Aaron nos dice que este asunto se trata de uso residencial de 5 a 8 unidades por acre y también va a ser de uso mixto, un 75% residencial con 16 a 20 unidades por acre y 25% de uso de comercial y con una intensidad de 0.5 AFR y esto es lo que tenemos como resumen. ¿Ok?
And Aaron, if you could now summarize the proposed amendment, please.
Yes, the proposed amendment is to revise the plan option for residential use at a density of 20 to 30 dwelling units per acre, with neighborhoods serving retail and office uses comprising 5 to 10% of the gross floor area, and without the recommendation for substantial parcel consolidation.
Okay, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. Y la enmienda propuesta es una revisión al plan, el cual dice que serían de 20 a 30 unidades y la parte comercial de un 5 al 10% del total de la totalidad del área de piso. Y esto también incluye el quitar o no tener la parcialidad sustancial.
Okay, thank you.
You too.
And now some questions for clarification to staff. The reference to with substantial parcel consolidation and the proposed amendment is without substantial parcel consolidation. Could you clarify what that is about, please? Make sure we all understand.
Para el staff queremos una aclaración de lo que llamamos quitar la parte de consolidación sustancial de parcela. Nos va a explicar de nuevo Aaron. ¿Ok?
Aaron, would you clarify that for us, please?
Substantial consolidation basically refers to consolidating as much of the land area as possible, or the majority of the land area.
But it's substantial parcel consolidation, so there's more than one parcel?
Correct.
Ok. Consolidación sustancial se refiere a hacer uso el área de los terrenos en la mayor parte posible, a varias parcelas. Okay.
Okay. And
I would add to that very quickly. I've pulled up a map here to show the site that's been nominated, and just wanted to remind folks that what we're dealing with is a nominated area that consists of several parcels, of which the Ray's Mobile Home Colony and Angleside Trailer Park are just one part. There's a much larger parcel that's immediately adjacent to the east, which contains the Bestway, as well as other parcels between those sites. And then there's also one across Forest Avenue from the main section of the site.
Quiero añadir que esta área que ha sido nominada no consiste solo del parque Angle View, sino de varias parcelas, las cuales tienen otras ubicaciones, otras áreas que están integradas también. Gracias.
okay, so just to clarify, the nomination on the plan area proposes the current language calls for substantial parcel consolidation, urban town center design concept, among other conditions. The proposed amendment would revise the option up to 20 to 30 dwelling units with neighborhood retail and office use representing 5 to 10% of total gross square footage and without substantial parcel consolidation. Okay, thank you.
De nueva cuenta, resumiendo, estamos viendo que el consolidar sustancialmente la parcela y quiere decir que vamos a tener 20 a 30 unidades de vivienda y con una proporción del 5 al 10% de área comercial. Y este es de lo que hablamos, y también dejar fuera de la propuesta lo de consolidación de parcelas, consolidación sustancial de parcela.
Okay, thank you. We have some additional questions for clarification before proceeding to a final vote. I'd like to ask the nominator about a message that was delivered to residents of the Ingleside Trailer Park community that is reportedly addressed from the landlord, a Hora company and a Rapido company, and said, I'm going to just hit the first sentence. The first bullet of this 4-bullet statement says, your landlord has no plans whatsoever to stop operating the trailer parks. It is a valuable business and provides affordable housing for over 350 people. Questions for clarification for the nominator. Is this representative of the property owner when we hear it's from the landlord?
Y hemos recibido por parte del nominador, quien ha nominado este proyecto, un mensaje a los residentes acerca del parque de Engleview, y la persona, el landlord o quien esté encargado de esta unidad, nos dice en el primer punto que no tiene planes para dejar de operar este parque en el cual viven 150 residentes, y esta comunidad desde su punto de vista no va a parar de operar. Okay.
Thank you. So could we ask the nominator to clarify, if they could please, if this letter represents the property owner versus, as opposed to just a landlord, or we'd appreciate your clarification.
Just 1 second.
It's not letting me unmute.
Okay. 1 second. So Joe was going to answer that, but I guess it's, Graham, is there a way you can unmute him? He can't unmute. Oh, there he is.
Joe, I've unmuted you if you can.
Okay. Yes. So in that letter was written by the landlord, who is the owner of the manager of those two entities. And it was in response to that first task force meeting we had. And there was concern that was being raised by a bunch of residents that they thought that this was imminent, that this was something that was happening immediately. So it is his intention to operate that park moving forward. This is a long-range plan, and this is the time that we wish we to discuss this now, with the understanding that we all know the process that this will take. And, you know, the reality is there's not a shovel in the ground for 4 years, probably.
And I just want, Soraya, interpreter, would like to have clarification that if the landlord is indeed not just the manager, but the owner as well, or?
It's the manager. It's the manager of the two. Yes, it's the manager of the two ownership entities.
Okay.
It's the manager of the two.
Very good. Thank you. But he is himself not the owner.
It's the owner of the properties that wrote that, okay?
Okay.
I mean, you're splitting hairs, Joe. The guy that owns the two.
Point of order, please.
It is the
questions and comments.
It is the property owner. The property owner is a limited liability corporation. The manager of that corporation is who wrote that letter. It is the property owner.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay.
Y queremos también aclarar que la persona que escribió esta declaración es el dueño y gerente de las dos propiedades, y él nos dice que este es un plan a largo plazo, y esto fue el resultado, su carta, de que en la Junta de Fuerza de Trabajo, los residentes tenían mucha preocupación de que fuera algo inminente, que fuera ya a suceder. Y de nuevo, este es un plan a largo plazo, no hay palas todavía en el terreno haciendo nada y estamos viendo por lo menos unos 4 años llevar a cabo. Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Franco, the reason we asked, because this seems to, we're having challenges with the contradiction here. The landlord reportedly has, as the first bullet says, has no plans whatsoever to stop operating the trailer park. And also notes that the landlord has not made any application or request of the county to redevelop the property at this time. Could you clarify for us where we are in terms of this nomination and the property owner's interest in moving forward with this?
Si nos pudiera aclarar que esta carta está escrita a nivel gerencial de las unidades, pero a la vez no tenemos récord en esta oficina, en este departamento, de que él haya entregado algo para tratar de parar este proceso. Así que si nos podrían aclarar.
Thank you. Mr. Franconi? Oh, he's having trouble. Okay, we'll wait. Oh, we still can't hear you, sir.
I can't unmute.
Now you got it. You got it.
Okay.
You're good now.
Okay, yes, so I have had discussions with the owner. We have had discussions with the neighboring owner. The idea now is to get the plan down and move a plan forward. He is not the nominator. I am the nominator, myself, Joe Franconi. We plan on tape. We would like to get this through, get the planning addressed now, and at some point in the future, may or may not end up ultimately developing the property. We want to go through the planning exercise now and see what it could be.
Okay, thank you, sir.
El señor John Franconi nos dice que él no es el dueño, él es la persona que está proponiendo este desarrollo y él solo quiere tomar esto en cuenta para planeación y este proyecto puede llegar a darse o no. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Can we hear from staff again there as a reminder of their recommendation on this particular nomination? Aaron?
One more thing.
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
The owner is on as a participant, James Turner.
Yes, sir.
If you could bring him in as a panelist, I just received message he would like to speak.
Yeah, y yo soy de nuevo la persona que está proponiendo este plan, pero el dueño parcial, James Turner, le gustaría participar, si lo pueden dejar entrar a la junta. Okay.
Okay, thank you. If Mr. Turner would like to provide a comment and clarification, that would be fine. Thank you.
Mr. Turner, I've upgraded you to a panelist, so you can now unmute yourself and we can hear from you.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if I have, let me turn my camera on.
El señor Turner.
Okay, well, I can't get my camera on, but I am the owner. I wrote the note. I think there was some misrepresentations being made at the last meeting where people were saying what I was going to do. I have no plans whatsoever at this time, but I have had various people from the county, the politicals, and different citizens asked me about it and suggested participating in this via Joe Francone is in the development business, and I am working with him somewhat on looking for what it could be in the future. But there is absolutely zero plan on the board right now to do anything other than what's operating at the trailer park with the tenants. And so I wanted to clarify it. That's my intent. At some point, I'm 66 years old. I don't envision myself when I'm 96 years old running this trailer park, or 86 years old either. I think it should be redeveloped at some point, and I think it's prudent to start planning for it now, not later.
Nos está hablando el dueño, el señor James Turner, y él nos dice que él es el que escribió esta nota, este mensaje, porque piensa que hubo una mala representación en la junta pasada acerca de lo que aquí se está hablando. Él dice que ha hablado con gente del condado y políticos o de la política y que le ha preguntado acerca de esto, pero él también ha platicado con el señor Francón, que es un desarrollador, y viendo a más allá de este momento en el futuro, y también su intención no es en este momento dejar de operar este parque, sino que las cosas continúan como están, pero él tiene 66 años de edad y no quiere seguir en esto a los 86 o 96, así que es algo que él está tomando en cuenta a futuro. ¿Ok?
Okay. Mr. Turner, thank you for your clarification. Let me move back to staff regarding their recommendation for this particular nomination.
Gracias, señor Turner, por su aclaración y vamos a continuar con comentarios del staff.
May we hear from staff?
Yes, staff's recommendation was to add the nomination to the work program with two considerations. The first was for the replacement of existing affordable residential units on site on a one-to-one basis. And the second consideration was to only consider the higher density plan option with full or nearly full parcel consolidation of the entire land unit to provide enough acreage for the one-for-one replacement of existing affordable units.
Okay, Aaron, could you help us better understand? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. On point one, it was, I'm sorry, the replacement. I got the one-on-one basis, but the replacement of what? I'm sorry, Aaron?
Existing affordable residential units.
Thank you. Ok, Aaron nos dice que la recomendación del staff es el añadir esta nominación a la fuerza de trabajo con el punto número 1 diciendo que es que el reemplazo de, que sería el reemplazo de casas de bajo costo existente en el 1-a-1, en las bases de 1-a-1. Y el punto número 2, la densidad mayor y con la consideración parcial, con la consideración parcial. Okay.
Thank you. Aaron, one further clarification. The current plan map and text calls for substantial parcel consolidation. The proposed amendment is without substantial parcel consolidation, and staff's recommendation is only considered with full. Can you qualify that full consolidation? Make sure I've said that correctly and provide an explanation of the difference.
I'm sorry.
Y Aaron, quiero que me aclares, que nos aclares, por favor, porque hemos estado viendo que se quiere quitar la enmienda de consideración sustancial de parcela y ustedes por parte del staff nos dicen que no sería parcial sino completa. Si nos puedes aclarar. Thank you.
Okay, Aaron, if you would please provide the clarifications on those differences.
Graham can jump in here too, but I believe that our language was meant to keep the current plan recommendation for substantial parcel consolidation. We're using words that are a little different, but I think we mean the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Graham.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I think the language that we had in our summary report was that we would only recommend the consideration of the higher density option that's being proposed with full or nearly full. So Aaron's right. You know, we're using a different term, but I think our intent is to retain the language that's in the adopted plan, which says substantial. So what the concern is that if you have, if you have a development and you have the ability to just have a piece of it and it's not consolidated with the rest, that it'd be very difficult to implement this higher density option in a way that provides for the kind of streetscape that we'd want along Richmond Highway. It'd be extremely difficult to do the one-for-one replacement that we've recommended as a part of our recommendation without, especially at that density level, without full or nearly full consolidation. So there's that's part of our rationale for wanting to retain that language that's in the adopted plan.
All right, I want to just get clarity. Go ahead.
Okay. La racionalidad o lo que estamos razonando es queremos mantener el plan de consolidación sustancial de la parcela y esto teniendo en cuenta la densidad mayor de todo o casi todo, porque si no lo hacemos así, no hay margen para hacer el tipo de calles que necesitamos, y también teniendo en cuenta esto de el 1 a 1 reemplazo. Así que por todo esto queremos que se siga tomando en cuenta la consideración sustancial de la parcela. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have asked some questions here to ensure that everyone understands the definitions and descriptions within the current proposed and staff considerations for this particular proposed amendment. Are there any other questions we need for clarification, or should we proceed to the vote? If I hear none, I'll proceed.
No, I have a question. This is
One
Queenie.
question, Queenie?
I guess I have a problem with the language or the terminology substantial consolidation. That's almost like saying timely. So I think that the language needs to be a lot more specific, because I just don't understand well, perhaps maybe staff can tell me what is substantial consolidation, because we have not used that language in any of the other nominations.
Yo soy Miss Queenie y tengo una pregunta, y sería acerca del lenguaje, hacer una aclaración del lenguaje. ¿Qué quieren decir exactamente con consolidación sustancial? Para mí eso quiere decir a tiempo, entonces quiero que sean más específicos con el lenguaje. No lo hemos usado en ninguna otra nominación, así que sí podrían aclarar.
So Queenie, by substantial, I see your point, because it is by definition it's descriptive, but it's not a number, for example. But what we're talking about is at least half. That's the idea with substantial. So we're looking at a core essence of the site.
Ni puedo darme cuenta de tu preocupación, y con sustancial no queremos decir nada que indique tiempo, sino decir que por lo menos la mitad es todo.
Then Graham, why not specifically make that statement? Because at least we can kind of like quantify it. Because if it's at least half, then we know what we're working with.
Sí, Gran, ¿y por qué no poder incluir esta palabra o este término de la mitad? Porque de esta manera lo podemos cuantificar, y ¿por qué no decirlo así? De esto sabremos cómo vamos a estar trabajando.
I guess two thoughts on that. So the one thing is substantial consolidation. That's in the adopted plan already. So that's the language that we have in the comp plan. And what we're talking about with our recommendation, having full or nearly full, that tries to get a little bit more in terms of description. But what we're doing right now with screening is really With screening, what we're just trying to do is just see whether something requires further analysis, and we think that it deserves further analysis. So I think the idea is that if we wanted to transmit a recommendation with a consideration that's more specific, we certainly can. I think the hesitation that I would have on the staff end of things is that we don't know about doing the full analysis of what might be the appropriate level to set without that further study that would take place. Once this is on the work program, we have a way of really evaluating it.
Sí, quiero recordarles que este término de consolidación sustancial ya ha sido adoptado en el plan, en la terminología del plan, y lo que queremos decir es completo o casi completo. Es ser un poco descriptivos y en este proceso de estar viendo, de tomar todos los detalles en cuenta y sabiendo que va a haber un análisis más allá de todo esto, un análisis completo y más allá de lo que estamos viendo en este momento.
Okay, well, I guess I have a concern about that. And also, I have a question about the, with the nomination, increasing the proposal from 5 to 8 dwelling units to 20 to 30. So I guess my question is, if this nomination is a change from the previous comp plan, which was changed, then why do we need to advance this so quickly without discussions with the owner and the tenants in order to resolve the a proposed language for affordable housing that would include trailers?
Mi preocupación es acerca de hablar en esta nominación, estemos incrementando la propuesta de 5 a 8 unidades, a 20 a 30 unidades. La pregunta es, en la nominación, pareciera que hay un cambio del plan comprensivo. ¿Y por qué necesitamos avanzar tan rápidamente sin hablar antes con el dueño y con los residentes, y también hablar de la vivienda de bajo costo y la terminología?
Thank you. Queenie, and just to clarify with staff, when we have the motion on the floor for consideration, amendments can be proposed. The task force can, of course, accept or reject those amendments to the motion. So please remember that.
I was just asking for clarification, on the reason, like since staff is here, before it becomes a motion, for them to be able to explain it.
Yeah.
Queenie, te quiero recordar, nos dice
because other people have made, because this is not the first comp plan change for this particular property. And I think that it's incumbent on the staff to explain it to us. And we want to do right by the tenants. And I'll stop right there because I have something else to say, because I don't overwhelm the translator.
Thank you. Y Queenie de nuevo le pregunta al staff, nos dice, perdón, nuestro comisionado que le recuerda a Queenie que se pueden hacer enmiendas a través de este proceso y se puede votar si se aceptan o no estos cambios. Y ella nos dice que su preocupación es que quiere que se tome en cuenta a los residentes y hablar con el staff que hagan aclaraciones de estos puntos y este lenguaje. Go ahead.
Because in the letter that went to the tenants, no, can I just finish? I'm almost done. And then,
Yeah, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you because there's echo. Please repeat. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Please repeat.
Because the other issue that I have a concern about is that this property has some other issues that I can relate to. And that is with VDOT proposing to close the entrance to the trailer parks, to not one of their trailer parks, but to two of them. And it would block the access at Richmond Highway and Pole Road and all of that. I think that this is important to the task force to be aware of the fact that VDOT, and I'm just going to put it out there, and the county may be in cahoots to box in this affordable housing complex. And I can relate to that because this is the same issue that Gum Springs went through with VDOT, and we had to fight like the Dickens to keep our community open and have accessibility. And this is something that the task force is not addressing. They're just looking out for money, and doing whatever the county wants to do. And I think that it's extremely important for the task force to listen to the people who live there, and the fact that VDOT and the county is trying to cut off their access to getting in and out of their community. And this is another avenue, in my opinion, to force the property owner to relent to what the county wants to do. And I think that the county and the property owner should sit down and discuss how the trailers can be a part of a affordable housing policy before moving forward. If we move this forward, you have people on this task force that are associated with commercial real estate that's pushing this. And they don't live there. A lot. In fact, I don't think any of us on the task force live where this property is being affected. And we're hearing from the tenants and the property owner. He's not in a big rush to move this forward. Who's doing this? Who's pushing this? It's the county.
Miss Queenie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, point of order. Everybody, please mute while Rory is translating.
Por favor, todos apaguen el micrófono. Gracias, mientras hay la interpretación. Lo otro que me preocupa, nos dice Miss Queenie, es que hay otros asuntos relacionados con esta propiedad. Algo que se quiere hacer es el cerrar la entrada de no solo uno de los parques de casas móviles, sino de los dos parques, bloquear el acceso al camino Paul y a la carretera Richmond. Así que yo quiero hablar con esta fuerza de trabajo porque les quiero decir que VDOT, junto con el condado, están hablando de hacer vivienda de bajo costo y yo pienso que el staff de la fuerza de trabajo está pensando solo en lo que el condado dice y en el dinero, y ellos deben de escuchar a los residentes, ¿verdad? Y el condado quieren cerrar este acceso de salir y entrar a la comunidad, y de esta manera a lo mejor forzar al dueño a dar a hacer lo que le piden. Y yo pienso que el condado y el dueño deben de platicar y hablar de que estos parques sean parte de la vivienda de bajo costo y la comunidad, porque también están pensando en una comunidad comercial de desarrollo comercial. Así que esta es mi preocupación.
So, having said all of that, I just want to say that I think that the task force members should think about this community at the Ingleside Trailer Park that's being like run out of town, so to speak, by VDOT and the county wanting to close off access into their community. I know how that feels, because this is what happened to Gum Springs, and we're a minority community, and you're doing it again, not you, but this task force is doing it again to another minority community without any compassion or empathy or listening to that community. And if the owner is willing to sit down and talk to the county and VDOT, what do we have to lose, as I've heard? I mean, why can't, because this, to me, is not time sensitive. This is not time sensitive. It's already has gone through a change to retain as residential, but not at the density that the nominator wants. And the nominator doesn't even live there either. Right, Joe?
But Queenie, can I, just for clarification, at this point, I'm not sure whether you're for or against the nomination, or whether you're proposing amendments, or can you help us understand? Because I'd like to also get some other questions or comments.
Okay. Well, when we took the preliminary vote, I was against the nomination because of the fact that, okay, I was against the nomination, and having the letter from the owner, that solidifies the reason why I will continue to support against voting this nomination moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Queenie. Are there any other questions, clarifications needed?
I have a question.
Is that Mary Payton?
Yes.
Okay, Mary, go ahead, please. Question, clarification?
Okay, these are clarifications because I'm very confused. I voted against this nomination, and since I've talked to some planning department, and but I'm very confused, and I need three things clarified so I can make my vote. Three contradictions, it seemed to me. One is the contradiction between the developer and the owner about the timeline of this development. The owner in his letter said his long-term plan is to keep running the trailer park much as he's operated, improving the quality, paving, cutting trees, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Franconi said he thought he'd have a shovel in the ground in 4 years. Now, 4 years is not long-term. You're not planting trees and paving. So I don't know if that's an honest difference in their foresight of what's going on, or if that's being deceptive to the tenants. And I'd like to know if they have an agreement on the timeline, and if so, what it is. I'm going to ask all my questions first. That's one.
Miss Mary, this is Raya. May I interpret this part? Thank you. Miss Mary nos dice que ella quiere también aclaraciones porque ella votó en contra de esta nominación, pero se siente un poco confundida. Una de las preguntas o de lo que le preocupa es que hay una diferencia entre la persona que quiere hacer este desarrollo y el dueño en el tiempo. El dueño nos dice que va a mantener y a operar, a seguir operando este parque y que es cuestión de unos 4 años, así, pero estos 4 años no es realmente a plazo largo, así que me gustaría tener una aclaración.
Okay, Mary. Thank you. Second question, Mary?
Second question is very unclear what happened to the affordable housing component. The staff is recommending 1-to-1 replacement. At the first time we discussed this, Mr. Franconi said there was no way he could do that. That was not economical. So what does that mean? Is there going to be negotiation over that, or has he just thrown that out? Since then, we've gotten letters saying he wants to work with the staff and coordinate, and I don't know what his intent is. I don't know what he's thinking about replacement of affordable housing, in particular, 1-to-1 of the mobile homes. Okay, go ahead and translate.
Thank you. Gracias. Y también el segundo punto, no está claro para mí esta consideración de la vivienda de bajo costo y de la terminología que se está usando como reemplazo de densidad de 1 a 1. Así que la vez pasada no se estaba tomando en cuenta lo de vivienda en bajo costo y esta vez sí se está hablando de eso de reemplazo. Así que me gustaría una aclaración.
Thank you, Soraya. Mr. Franconi, I see your hand up. After I get all of Mary's questions out, I'll come back to you, sir, okay? Thank you.
I wanted to add that Lori Greenleaf, who's working with Joe's, had her hand up as well. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll get both of them covered, but I'm going to get all these questions in first.
Okay,
Mary, go ahead, please.
Thank you. The third one seems to be between the proposal that's being asked for and the staff recommendations. The proposal is for a higher density and no consolidation, and the staff recommendations are for more consolidation and a 1-to-1 replacement. Now, those are not at all in the same things. If I vote yes on this, what am I voting on? Am I voting for the proposed change or for the staff recommendation?
Miss Mary, this is Soraya, interpreter. For the first part, I got that. The second part is the including the more consolidation. And in the first one, if I understand correctly, you are looking for the difference between the proposal that asks for staff recommendations about the
staff recommends
more consolidation, yes. La tercera pregunta es, en la propuesta, el staff pide, en las recomendaciones del staff piden más consolidación y en esta junta que estamos teniendo se está hablando de reemplazo de 1 a 1. Quiero que se aclare. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mary, your final question?
Okay. No, that's it. That's 3. The first one is on
3.
the timeline, the second on the affordable housing, and the third on whether I'm voting on the plan change or the staff recommendation, because they seem contradictory to me.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Okay, Mr. Franconi and Lori, if you'd like to provide some comments and responses. Mr. Franconi? I can't see Lori, but I'm assuming she's available too. Mr. Franconi, go ahead. We can't hear you.
Okay, am I on?
Yep, you're on.
Okay, so as far as the timeline, and again, we heard from Mr. Turner, who is the owner. The immediate plan that we have right now is to move forward in this process, which involves us sitting down with the county, sitting down, engaging the community, addressing the affordable housing needs. We understand that they're going to be there. We're not saying we can't do a 1-to-1 replacement of affordable units on that site. And from a planning standpoint, The way that you achieve the additional affordable housing is not by less density, it's by more density. That's what allows us to get those affordable components in there. So the timeline, when I said the earliest case scenario would be 4 years before a shovel was in the ground. The reality of the situation is the market will dictate that. It could be 10 years, it could be 15 years. The current plan allows up to 20 units an acre now, the current comprehensive plan as amended previously. So it has 5 to 8 on the individuals, on the individual parcels, with substantial consolidation that allows up to 20. In order to us to achieve the kind of affordable housing component that we understand is needed and will be required for the property to be ultimately rezoned, that's why we're asking for the additional density. So I think those two questions go hand in hand. The timeline is, let's address this now. Let's sit down with the county. Let's engage the community. Let's get everybody together and get a meeting of the minds on a project that we can all be proud of and move forward. So I think I've answered both of those questions. As to far, okay.
Sí, el señor Franconi nos dice, es nuestro desarrollador, que los tiempos son que el plan inmediato es avanzar con este proceso, pero por supuesto que incluir al condado, a la comunidad, y el concepto de vivienda de bajo costo. Y no se está diciendo que no va a haber el reemplazo o el 1 a 1, pero sí en el concepto de vivienda de bajo costo tiene que haber una mayor densidad. Y cuando él habla de los 4 años, esto sería lo mínimo. Y esto va a depender realmente de los mercados. Y esto podría ser 10 años, podrían ser 15 años. Y en el I'm so sorry. En el plan como está en este momento, se permiten 20 unidades en la parcela, de parcelas, en la consolidación sustancial y de 5 a 8 parcelas individuales. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Franconi, go ahead.
And again, I think that this is a real opportunity for everybody to get what we're after here. By the task force tonight, moving this into the work group will shed light on all of these questions and concerns from Mary Payton, from Queenie Cox, from the residents that we saw last time. This is the process to achieve these goals. It is timely process. It is an excruciatingly long process to get through this. We need to start this now to move it forward. The current comp plan that we have now allows up to 20 units to the acre with the standard ordinances that are written now with substantial consolidation of that property. There is an existing zoning right now that would permit retail with no component of affordable housing. By us pushing this down the road and not having these discussions now, it's not going to solve anything. The way to solve this is to move this to the work group and let us go through the process.
If I may, Mr. Marconi. De nuevo, quiero decirles, nos habla el señor Marconi, que esta es una muy buena oportunidad para todos y mover este proceso a través de la fuerza de trabajo para poder enfocar y ver todos los puntos que nos están dando tanto Mary como Queenie como los residentes. Estos son los pasos a seguir en todo proceso. Como están las cosas hasta este momento, en la zonificación, digamos, nos permite hasta 20 unidades por acre y en esta zonificación también que ya existe, se permite que haya ventas o comercialización y no se habla nada de la vivienda de bajo costo. Así que esta es una buena oportunidad para ver todos los puntos de vista y poner la luz en todo esto y mover el proceso que se tendrá que dar en algún momento. Go ahead.
Thank you, Soraya. Mary, did you have any other third question or?
Can I have one more point?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to speak to one other thing that I didn't, and that is the VDOT situation. So as part of the widening of Route 1, VDOT has identified a location for a stormwater pond that would seriously preclude, maybe actually take away the access to the four-way intersection. VDOT is at odds with the county over this. Fairfax County has voiced their opinion, staff, transportation, the supervisor's office, and we're taking that up. So as far as the county trying to take the access away, that's not the case. And we are working with that. And again, this plan moving forward and getting this done only bolsters the case to preserve that access. So again, the county and VDOT are on opposite sides of that discussion.
El siguiente punto que me gustaría hacer por parte de el señor Marconi es que VDOT está pensando en anchar la ruta 1 y poner un pequeño laguito para capturar agua y también quitar este acceso, no el condado. El condado y están uno en contra del otro, el condado, el staff, el departamento de transporte, todos están del mismo lado de lo que yo estoy diciendo y VDOT es el que quiere quitar este acceso, no el condado. Así que moviendo este plan hacia el futuro es una manera de prevenir este tipo de cubrir el acceso. Go ahead.
Thank you, Soraya. And Mary, in response to your third question about what we're voting on, what we'll be voting on is whether or not to move the proposed amendment to the work program. That proposed amendment is the one that says revise adopted plan option for residential use to 20 to 30 dwelling units per acre with neighborhood retail and or office use representing 5 to 10% of the total gross square footage and without substantial parcel consolidation. That is what we would be voting on. Are there any? Go ahead, Soraya, and then I'll move forward.
Sí, y aclarando, Mary, en tu punto tercero de en cuál es el asunto por el que estamos votando, este es de mover la enmienda propuesta hacia adelante, en la cual se tiene de 20 a 30 unidades y también incluyendo una porción de comercio del 5 al 10% por pies cuadrados, así que esta es la propuesta o la enmienda por la que se está votando. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Graham, hang on just a second. Graham, you had a question, comment, clarification?
I just wanted to mention that you absolutely can vote on the nomination that was submitted. You can also add considerations, and that's what staff has done with our recommendation, is that we've taken the originally submitted nomination and, with the language about 1-for-1 replacement, with the language about not wanting to remove the language regarding substantial consolidation of the land. The task force does have the ability, if they wish, to add considerations that would be transmitted to the planning commission. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew that that is an option that the task force can do. Essentially, what staff has done with their recommendation, if they'd like to, or any modifications that they'd like to see.
And we do those in the form of amendments.
All under consideration. Can I add an amendment?
May I?
Hang on, Mary.
Sí, Mr. Owen nos dice que se puede, al votar por esta nominación, se pueden añadir ciertas consideraciones. Lo del reemplazo de 1 a 1 y no incluir, por ejemplo, la consolidación sustancial. Todas estas, puede haber consideraciones que se pueden agregar. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Graham, thank you. You are correct, and those can be in the form of amendments to the motion or.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I think it depends on how we make the motion. Or were you planning to make the motion, or were we going to make it? I was thinking about making it, including the staff's caveats.
That's fine. What we have was based on what you had your preliminary vote before, which was to, I think, move it forward, and I think that was what you considered as the proposed amendment, but certainly you can make amendments to the proposal.
I'll make amendment.
Well, hang on just a sec. We haven't made the proposed amendment yet.
Okay.
Let's make sure we're all on the same page with what we're talking about. Are there any further questions for clarification, or can we move to the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, can I make the motion that is different from the last motion from the preliminary vote? And I'd like to do that now.
I thought we were still discussing, not a motion.
Yeah, hang on, Ellen, you can, but let's finish discussion and then we'll make one more question or comment and then we'll move on to a motion.
This is Queenie, and I just want to clarify one thing that the nominator Joe made about the VDOT access that may deny entry into the 2 trailer parks. And that is, since VDOT works for the state delegate and the state senator, it is my understanding that they are not in favor of what VDOT is proposing to do, because this also affects the school buses whenever school starts. And so, so I think that is important that we are aware of the fact that that the state delegates, Krizak and Sorvell and Dan Stork, the Mount Vernon supervisor, is not supporting VDOT's proposal to close off the access to those trailer parks.
Yo soy Queenie, solo quiero aclarar que VDOT, las personas por parte del Estado no están de acuerdo con VDOT de cerrar estas entradas o accesos a los parques. Como el supervisor de Mount Vernon y el señor Cuizard, etcétera, no están a favor de VDOT en hacer esto. Solo aclarar. Go ahead.
That was it for me.
Excuse me, this is Megan. Megan Van Dam, Planning and Development. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what VDOT is and is not doing. I don't mean to debate the issue, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because I'm looking at the VDOT maps and I'm not seeing the closure. I see a stormwater pond that's moving one access point. The 2 roads, Denfield Drive and Greenleaf Street, remain open, but there's a stormwater pond that's moving another access point. So I just wanted to make that point of clarification, and if that's on the map that they currently have on the website. So if somebody knows differently, that's please feel free to chime in, but I'm just wanted to make sure we were all had the same information.
Yo soy Megan Van Dam, por parte de planeación y desarrollo. Si pueden apagar sus micrófonos, por favor, para que no haya interferencia. If you could turn the microphones off, please. y para que estemos en la misma página, quiero decir que VDOT no está queriendo cerrar los accesos, solo poner una captura, un laguito de captura de agua y solo un punto de acceso sería el que tuviera cualquier tipo de impacto, pero no está cerrando el acceso a las dos entradas, digamos, y salidas. Okay.
All right, thank you, Soraya.
Megan, can I add to that? This is Nick from Supervisor Stork's office on his land use aid. What I'll do, I will clarify with Supervisor Stork and staff this week and get back to the task force about just what VDOT is and is not doing at this particular location. And we'll clarify Supervisor Stork's position on it at the local level.
Sí, quiero agregar, yo soy Nick, por parte de la oficina de supervisor, del supervisor Stork, y yo voy a hablar y hablar con él, a ver en qué forma está incluido vida o no, qué es lo que planean hacer. Y yo me comunicaré resultados a la fuerza de trabajo. Go ahead.
Thank you, Soraya. Okay, it's almost 8 o'clock. We've had further questions and comments. At this point, I'd like to move to a motion here. Now, for consideration, just to make sure, Ellen, do you have one more question and then we're going to move to motions? No, thank you.
I was making the motion.
Cool. Just so we all know we're on the same page, because we obviously have a lot of text to consider, but I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page as we consider a motion here. The proposed amendment, as written in the nomination plan for this, the proposed amendment to this site is to revise adopted plan option for residential use to 20 to 30 dwelling units per acre with neighborhood retail and/or office use representing 5 to 10% of the total gross square footage and without substantial parcel consolidation. Now, staff has recommended also from the same text for this nomination, staff only recommends the consideration of a higher density option with full or nearly full consolidation of the land unit in order to ensure a logical planning area for future development and provide sufficient acreage to support the one-to-one replacement of existing affordable units, and does not support the consideration of removing the adopted plan guidance on consolidation. All right, let her translate and then we'll consider a motion.
Thank you. Para que sepamos que estamos todos en la misma página, quiero revisar que el voto va a ser en la propuesta enmienda del plan de nominación, que es revisar la densidad residencial de 20 a 30 unidades por acre con un 5 al 10% de oficinas o área comercial en el total de pies cuadrados y sin la consideración sustancial de la parcela, y por lo que el staff está diciendo que haya una densidad mayor y que sea al completo o casi completo de una manera lógica, y que permanezca de 1 a 1 el reemplazo, y que se remueva la consideración. May I clarify something? The last point there, to support the one-to-one replacement and remove, what was that last point? Remove
No. To support the one-to-one replacement. Everybody's got to mute. Okay. The last part of that, Soraya, is to support the one-to-one replacement of existing affordable units and does not support the consideration of removing the adopted plan guidance on consolidation. Okay, unmute, Soraya.
El staff apoya el reemplazo de una a una unidades y no apoyan de el existente oh gosh, I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. And they do not, the existing affordable housing concept, they support as well or not? I'm sorry.
They do not support. Go ahead with staff.
Okay.
Graham?
Okay.
You got it? Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, Commissioner Sargent, if I could jump in here. Just one point of clarification. Just wanted to make sure that everyone understands, what we're voting on, or what the task force is voting on with this, is whether to add the nomination to the work program. As submitted, the nomination requests 20 to 30 dwelling units to the acre, and also proposes to remove adopted plan language that calls for substantial consolidation. What staff did with our recommendation was say that we are in support of reviewing or considering the 20 to 30 dwelling units per acre, the higher density option, but only if there is full or nearly full consolidation of the land unit, and if there is one-for-one replacement of existing affordable units on site. But again, this is not plan language that we're creating right now. What we're doing is just transmitting considerations for the study that would take place should it be added to the work program.
Correct.
Ok, y la aclaración por parte de staff, Mr. Owen nos dice que lo que se quiere es añadir esta nominación al programa o al plan de trabajo, la fuerza de trabajo, y de 20 a 30 unidades por acre, y remover el lenguaje adoptado del plan, el que llama a tener una consolidación sustancial de las parcelas, y están dispuestos a aceptar las 20 a 30 unidades, que es una opción de densidad más alta, solo si se toma en consideración completo o casi completo el desarrollo, y también el reemplazo de 1 a 1 unidades. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I have two more hands up, and then we're gonna go to the motion. First from Lori Greenleaf. Lori, please.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I actually, as Joe kept talking, he kind of covered everything I wanted to say, but something Graham just said is important, that what we are asking for is to continue this conversation. And as Joe said, this plan amendment form is the right place to do that. And so you all are talking about specific considerations, which are great, and those will move forward into the broader plan amendment process and be considered. So, just recognize you're not voting on actual plan language. You are either moving this forward or not moving it forward. But if you're moving it forward with certain considerations, those are the types of things you're talking about, and they're important topics. So we hope that this does get moved forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
Yo soy Miss Lori Greenleaf, y yo lo que quiero es aclarar que no se está votando por el cierto lenguaje del plan, sino por mover el proceso hacia adelante. Lo que nos dijo el señor Fanconi es verdad, y estas consideraciones se pueden tomar en cuenta a través de enmiendas o consideraciones, pero en este momento no estamos votando por en sí el lenguaje o todos los específicos, no solo por mover este proceso hacia adelante. Go ahead.
Sorry. Catherine Ward, you're next. Catherine?
I give up. Keep moving.
No, come on. Okay.
I have amendment. Tell me when to make it.
Catherine gave up. Wow, Catherine gave up.
Ellen. Okay, Ellen?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion now, please. Is that appropriate?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Wait, I'm sorry. Mary,
when do I make an amendment?
After the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
make
get
a
the
motion.
let's get a motion first. Are we considering a motion? All right.
Okay.
Yes, I move that this nomination be moved into the work plan only with the staff recommendations for one-to-one housing replacement of affordable housing, keeping the current comp plan language of substantial parcel consolidation.
I second that motion.
All right.
Heard it. Ok, yo quiero mover una moción para votación en la cual se pueden integrar enmiendas después de la votación para que la nominación se mueva al plan de trabajo y con las consideraciones del staff del reemplazo de una a una unidad, incluyendo el concepto de vivienda de bajo costo y también el concepto de consolidación sustancial, la parcela no estando. Go ahead.
Thank you. And Mary, you seconded that motion?
Ellen did.
Catherine seconded that motion.
It was seconded by Catherine Ford. We're moving it into the work plan with the considerations as expressed by Ellen. Okay. All right.
Se secunda esta moción.
So
All
now
right, let's have a. I'm sorry, who is that, Mary?
Yes. Now can I make amendment?
Is this a friendly amendment or?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
friendly.
Never mind. Just
It's
go
friendly.
ahead. What's your?
Okay. I recommend that we also, I submit an amendment that we also recommend that the tenants group be formally represented in the work plan negotiations, that they also consider compensation for their property. If they lose property, they can work out some kind of compensation, and that they should be kept together, have the option of being kept together as a community.
Ellen, do you get to accept that amendment?
No, I do not. I mean, it's not germane to what we're doing, which is moving it into the work plan or not. So those are further considerations to the one on affordable housing replacement. I do not accept it.
All right, Mary.
If I may,
Go ahead.
sorry. Mary nos da quiere añadir una enmienda amistosa en la cual se recomendaría que se tome en cuenta de una manera formal, oficial, al grupo de residentes, que sean representados de una manera formal en las negociaciones, que también se haga el punto de tomar en consideración una compensación por sus propiedades, si estas fueran perdidas, y que también una opción sea el que se mantenga la comunidad junta. En este momento no se secunda esta enmienda amistosa porque lo que se está votando realmente es solamente avanzar el proceso, no estas consideraciones. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. We've had a second, and we've had a friendly amendment that was not accepted. Do we have any further comments?
Yes.
Let's
This
vote, please.
This is Queenie. No, wait a minute,
Okay,
Catherine. This is where people live.
Hang on. Point of order.
Okay.
Come on, let's go, guys.
Okay. I need clarification here, and that is that the motion. I understand the motion that Ellen made. Okay, and then Mary made a friendly amendment, which was not accepted by Ellen.
Correct.
And Mary's friendly amendment was to, first off, okay, the motion that Ellen made was to accept the nomination for the high density of 20 to 30 dwelling units. And she rejected Mary's friendly amendment for tenant participation.
And consideration of compensation.
Right.
Right, but that would still be a part of tenant participation in the discussion process of moving this nomination forward. That's
Can I-
what I got out of this.
Well,
Can I make
let's-
an
let's-
unfriendly
this
amendment?
is, hang on, no, hang on.
No,
What-
I'm
this
trying
is-
to understand.
Yeah, this votes at this point for whether or not to move this forward to the work program is for consideration by this task force.
Correct.
We've had
I got
input,
that.
public input, so this is specific to this task force. During the next process, there will be opportunities for broader community and public input. So this is specific, as was highlighted earlier, whether or not to move this forward to a formal work program for consideration.
With the higher density.
As proposed in the amendment, yes. And with staff's considerations.
Okay.
Queenie nos dice que ella quiere una aclaración acerca de la moción por la que se votó y luego que se secundó después una enmienda amistosa, la cual fue rechazada por Ellen y que ella apoya las 20 a 30 unidades. Pero nos aclara nuestro comisionado que lo que se está votando en este momento es por llevar hacia adelante el programa de trabajo con la fuerza de trabajo y en el próximo proceso será entonces el añadir consideraciones o enmiendas de todo tipo. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, we have a second, we've had clarification. Now we're going to vote. We're going to call upon each member who's present here and get their vote in favor, whether they're voting in favor of the motion or not. Hillary Clausen? Aye or nay?
Aye.
Hillary votes yes. Catherine Ward?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Gretchen Waltel?
Yes.
All right. David Levine is absent. Holly Doherty is absent. Evan Kaufman is absent. Mary Payton?
I'll still go no.
Okay. Queenie Cox?
No.
Queenie? No? Okay.
No.
Ellen Young?
Yes.
All right. Hammond is absent. Lynn Pasco?
Yes.
Okay. And Tracy Wood? Tracy?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. The chairs are not voting. The final count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor, 1, 2 opposed. The motion passes to move this for further consideration in the work plan. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much.
Ok, tuvimos una moción, después una secundada, después aclaraciones, después se llamó a la lista la votación y pasa por 6 votos y no en contra, y 2, perdón, en contra. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. All right. That concludes the voting. I appreciate all of the input and tremendous discussion and debate and sincerity and the concern expressed during this process. You truly are members of the community who care and are committed to making it as good as possible. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to my fellow commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr.
Thank
Sergeant,
you,
I appreciate
staff.
that, Co-Chairman. So,
Perdón. Con esto concluimos nuestra votación. Quiero darle las gracias a todos los miembros de esta comisión por su tiempo, por su preocupación, por su participación y muchas gracias por estar aquí y por su tiempo y su sinceridad. Y ustedes representan a la comunidad, así que muchas gracias. Go ahead.
okay, thank you. And moving on with the agenda, I'll ask staff if we want to go into next steps, or do we have information you'd like to present on the lead district nomination for Hilltop Village Center?
I think what we could do next is probably next steps, and then we can do a briefing on the Hilltop Village Shopping Center if you'd like.
Okay. That's
Well, I
perfect.
wanted to thank you, Soraya, for once again doing an excellent job translating for the Ambleside nomination. So we really appreciate the service that you've provided.
It is my pleasure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Take care.
All right, take care. Thank you. So in terms of next steps, what we're looking at is the next step is going to be the Planning Commission hearings. So this is the final meeting of the Mount Vernon SSPA task force. It's actually also the final task force meeting for all of South County. So we're now concluded with the task force kind of phase of things. What we're doing now is moving all of the nominations that were submitted and are still active the commission. So those that were voted where the task force and staff recommended in favor or against adding it to the work program, all of those that are active will be sent to the Planning Commission in a series of hearings. So right now, the roster is that we're going to be looking at November the 18th and the 19th for the nominations. We should have some more information on which date for each nomination very soon. And then once we have those public hearings, and they are public hearings, anybody from the public can attend, then we will have a markup, or the Planning Commission will hold a markup of the new comprehensive plan work program. And that's where the Planning Commission will make their selections for which of the nominations should be added. And they may also recommend to remove some inactive nominations, or excuse me, inactive plan amendments from the work program to make room, so to speak, and to balance the work program. So this is gearing up for two hearings in November, the 18th and 19th. The markup is on December the 2nd. And then the Board of Supervisors hearing has yet to be scheduled, but we anticipate that they will take action on the new work program in January of 2021. Does anybody have any questions? And I do want to say that we certainly would welcome task force members and members of the public to attend all of those public hearings to see the process through the rest of the screening phase. Anybody have any questions at all? All right.
And Graham, this is Walter. Just to clarify, in terms of with the work program and how things go along, is there a separate site that will be set up? Is it still going to be on the task and nomination site as far as what's happening in these next steps?
That's a great question. So I think it'll be a combined thing. We will have we'll have more information on the track and nomination page, but once things are added to the work program, they become plan amendments. And so each plan amendment that we have has its own unique web page. And so what you'll want to do is probably still log on to the track and nomination page, and we will be able to provide a link to each plan amendment that's going through study with the task force. But there might just be one additional click that you need to get to because each of those will have all the information that you need for the impacts analysis and the study. So we'll likely do separate web pages for each plan amendment, as is our practice.
Okay, great, thank you. So moving right along, if we could hear the Hilltop Village Center nomination, that would be great.
Graham, if you could put up the PDF of the presentation and advance the slides for me. It's in the Lee District presentations folder. The August 10th presentations. Because I have the PowerPoint up that has my script in it.
What's the number on this one, Aaron? Is it Lee 5 or 8?
5.
All right, just bear with me 1 second. Okay. Can you see? Can everybody see the PowerPoint here? Aaron, can you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The subject site is developed with, is developed with the Hilltop Village Shopping Center at the northeast quadrant of the intersection of Telegraph Road and Beulah Street. Next slide. The approximately 32-acre subject site contains an anchor grocery store and other retail and service establishments. Directly to the east of the subject property is the Kingstown Fire Station. Areas to the north and further east include the former Hilltop landfill and additional recreational facilities. The Lansdowne Shopping Center is located directly to the west across Beulah Street. Areas to the north and further east include the former Hilltop landfill, planned and entitled for the Hilltop Golf Course, and additional recreational facilities. The recently developed Crest Independent Living Townhouse community is located east of the golf course. Fort Belvoir is located to the south of the subject property. Next slide. The subject site is planned for recreational uses and residential use at a density of 3 to 4 dwelling units per acre, with an option for retail and office uses up to 0.45 floor area ratio. The retail portion of the option has been developed. The approved standalone 4-story office building and structured garage on parcels 9E and 9F at the corner of Beulah and Telegraph has not been developed, and areas to the west of the subject property are planned for residential use at 3 to 4 dwelling units per acre. Fort Belvoir is planned for public facilities, governmental, and institutional uses. The nomination proposes a 5-story residential building in lieu of the unbuilt office building of parcels 9E and 9F, citing changes in the office market. The plan states that higher residential densities may be appropriate when other county goals, such as the production of affordable and workforce dwelling units, can be achieved. County policy also encourages the consideration of housing in proximity to employment areas such as the shopping center and Fort Belvoir, the latter being the largest employer in the county. However, compatibility with the adjacent commercial land uses and the auto-oriented nature of the majority of the shopping center may present challenges to successfully integrating residents into the development. Next slide. Adopted on December 8, 2008, Plan Amendment S08-4-RH1 and concurrent rezoning application RZ 2008-MD-003 that established the current development on the site considered a mix of residential, office, and retail uses up to 0.41 floor area ratio, similar to the nomination's proposed intensity, as one of 2 land use options. The other option proposed a non-residential mix up to 0.25 FAR. The analysis stated that the proposed type of retail use for a traditional shopping center with a large anchor store with strip and pad style commercial development, large expanses of surface parking, little open space, and limited potential for design integration and pedestrian mobility, diminish the ability to mixed-use village center with elements that would be conducive to the inclusion of residents. Reconsidering residential uses on site would warrant a re-examination of the overall shopping center's character and the open spaces, streets, walkways, and other elements that would contribute to a cohesive and desirable environment for future residents. Additionally, and as reflected in the adopted plan recommendation for multi-story office buildings on the site, ground floor retail uses in the proposed residential building also may contribute to a better integration of the land uses. The adopted plan contains conditions for the development to avoid security conflicts with Fort Belvoir and to coordinate plans with the base. Fort Belvoir has expressed security concerns with locating residential use along Telegraph Road near its boundaries, similar to the 2008 plan amendment. However, Fort Belvoir has also stated that design solutions could be evaluated to mitigate these concerns. PC 19-LE-005 is recommended to be included in the Comprehensive Plan Amendment Work Program. The potential to achieve county policy objectives related to the production of affordable and workforce housing warrants consideration of the higher intensity. The review would need to evaluate any conflicts between the predominantly auto-oriented nature of the shopping center and people living on site to identify resolutions for successfully integrating residents into the commercial environment. The evaluation should also include coordination with Fort Belvoir to address any security concerns. Thank you.
And Aaron, do you want to give an update on what the task force, how the task force presentation went for this nomination? Because the task force did have a different perspective, so it might be worth sharing.
Yes. Right, there was a huge amount of public comment, negative public comment, citing concerns of increased traffic, that this was an incompatible use with the surrounding area, increase in the school age, the children in students in surrounding schools. And I think that was it, primarily it, yeah. But there was a huge amount of public input, and so the task force, the lead task force, voted not to add this to the work program.
Okay. Aaron, thank you. Thank you for that update. Well, ladies and gentlemen, folks, I think we've come to the end of our task force meeting. It's been a pleasure spending our Tuesday evenings together. The only thing better if we could have done this face to face, but so has it that we had to do it this way. Aaron, we want to thank you for all of your hard work in working with the co-chairman, Tim Sargent, and myself. Graham and Megan, you guys have been tremendous as always, so thank you. And Soraya, she was awesome. Please further give her thank yous for her interpretation. So great spirited conversation that we had tonight and throughout this process, and we expect nothing less from this community. So I guess we will be signing off, and we will continue along and be watching the progression of these nominations. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you at another time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and the staff. Good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter and Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Walter and Tim, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for your leadership on this task force. I know we had a lot of